On a bright morning washed in gold sunlight, the kind that made the marble walls of the Harrington estate glow like a palace from a dream, something happened that would quietly shatter a millionaire's certainty about his own life. Alexander Harrington, a man who had built an empire from ruthless discipline and relentless ambition, stood on the terrace of his mansion with a porcelain cup of untouched coffee cooling in his hand. He was used to watching markets rise and fall, people bow and leave, deals close with a nod, but what unfolded on the lawn below made his breath catch in a way no boardroom crisis ever had. His quadruplets, Ethan, Leo, Noah, and Max, four identical little worlds of laughter and noise, had just burst free from their nanny's grasp and were sprinting across the grass with unfiltered joy, their small shoes thudding against the earth, their voices ringing like bells. But they weren't running toward him. They weren't running toward the toys, the fountains, or the extravagant playhouse built just for them. They were running toward Maria, the maid. Maria, who wore a simple blue uniform and white apron. Maria, who cleaned quietly, spoke softly, and never met his eyes for too long. Maria, who knelt instinctively as she saw the boys charging toward her, arms opening as if her body had learned this shape long before her mind could stop it. Alexander frowned, confused, his instincts prickling. He had always believed love could be purchased in the form of comfort, security, and opportunity. His children had everything: elite tutors, imported toys, doctors on call, and a father who provided without limit. And yet, as the boys collided into Maria's arms, laughter spilling out of them like sunlight through broken clouds, they wrapped themselves around her as if she were the center of their universe. "Mommy," one of them cried, the word ringing out clearly, undeniably. "Mommy, you came back." Another pressed his face into her shoulder and whispered, "We were scared you wouldn't come today." The word hit Alexander like a blow to the chest. "Mommy." His grip tightened on the cup until porcelain cracked. For a moment, the world went silent except for the sound of his heartbeat pounding in his ears. "Mommy." The maid. His maid. His mind raced backward through memories he had never bothered to examine, early mornings when the boys cried and Maria was already there, soothing them before the nannies arrived, scraped knees kissed better by her gentle hands, bedtime stories told in hushed tones when he was still in meetings overseas, nightmares chased away by her presence while he signed contracts worth millions. Maria's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she hugged them, her voice trembling as she whispered, "I'm here, my angels. I'm always here." Alexander stepped forward without realizing it, his polished shoes sinking slightly into the grass, his perfect image of control beginning to fracture. "What did you call her?" he asked, his voice sharp but unsteady. The boys turned, surprised to see him so close. Ethan, the boldest, looked at his father with innocent confusion. "Mommy," he said again, as if explaining something obvious. "She takes care of us. She listens. She stays when we cry." Leo added softly, "She knows our stories." Noah tugged at Maria's apron. "She promised she wouldn't leave us like the other mom." That was when the ground truly disappeared beneath Alexander's feet. "The other mom," he echoed, his voice barely audible. Maria stiffened, color draining from her face. She tried to gently pull the boys back, murmuring apologies, but the damage was done. Alexander's mind flashed to the day his wife had walked out, heels clicking sharply across the marble floor, her face cold, her voice exhausted. He had been on the phone, arguing about a merger, barely glancing up as she said she couldn't do it anymore. He had assumed the children were too young to remember. He had assumed money could cushion everything. He had assumed wrong. The boys spoke over one another now, words tumbling out with the brutal honesty only children possess. "She left," Max said simply. "She didn't hug us. She didn't come back," Noah added. "But Maria did," Ethan finished. The lawn felt suddenly too bright, too exposed. Alexander looked at Maria, not as staff, not as a background presence, but as a woman with tired eyes, calloused hands, and a heart that had quietly carried the weight he had dropped. "Is this true?" he asked, his voice lower now, stripped of authority. Maria swallowed hard. "I never meant to replace anyone," she said softly. "I just couldn't watch them cry alone." Silence stretched between them, heavy and aching. For the first time in years, Alexander felt something crack open inside him, a realization that success had made him powerful, but not present. That love wasn't something you provided, it was something you showed up for, again and again, especially when it was inconvenient. The boys, sensing the shift, reached for his hands. "Daddy," Leo said, "you're always busy. But you can stay now, right?" The question held no accusation, only hope. Alexander knelt, the expensive fabric of his suit meeting the grass, and for the first time, he was eye level with the consequences of his choices. He pulled his sons into his arms, feeling their warmth, their trust, and the quiet truth they had revealed without meaning to. "I'm here," he whispered, though he wasn't entirely sure how to be yet. He looked at Maria, who stood uncertainly, unsure if she had crossed an unforgivable line. "Thank you," he said, the words tasting unfamiliar but necessary. "For being there when I wasn't." Tears slipped down Maria's cheeks as she nodded. In that moment, the mansion behind them felt smaller, less important than the patch of grass where a family had finally collided with the truth. That day did not magically fix everything. But it was the beginning, the day a millionaire learned that the greatest shock of his life would not come from a market crash, but from 4 small voices calling a maid mommy, and forcing him to finally see what love really meant. And if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that real wealth is measured in moments, not money, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because stories like these don't just entertain, they change how we see the world, and the next one might change you even more.